He is a son of a bitch.
That's pretty much what I told her.
Are the kids okay?
I guess. I mean, I don't know how she's gonna $7.25 an hour working part-time. Do you think we could talk to Lori Ann?
No.
Just listen before you answer.
The answer is no. The answer you're gonna get from Lori Ann is no.
Raylan needs help.
Well, I understand that.
She's clean. They give her random drug tests at her work.
That doesn't mean she's clean, huh? That just means she hasn't been caught again.
She's my sister.
And we tried to help her
How
once.
many times does she have to say she's sorry?
If you want to, send her a check.
I want to get her a job. I want to get her a decent job.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be on the farm.
Well, if you talk to Lori Ann and you could just tell her.
I'm not doing that. Your sister stole money. She stole money from my dad after he gave her work. She did that to him. She did that to you.
Raylan wasn't well. I mean, she had problems. She wasn't well.
I meant what I said. If you want to write her a check.
Just giving her money isn't the same as helping her.
I'm overdressed.
Let's do it one more time because she's amazing and American Crime is amazing. I already said all of this to you backstage, but I'm going to do it one more time in front of the cameras and the audience and for all of the ABC executives that are watching right now. None. There is a myth about the golden age of television, in my opinion, and the only show that, in my opinion, really that represents that is American Crime. It's the only show that I've seen that actually tackles taboo subjects, really tackles them sensitively and smartly, and then also with an aesthetic that is representative of a great filmmaker. Not an aesthetic that feels like we got to get to the next beat, we got to move to the commercial break. It's actually slow, it takes its time. And it's unlike any other show, it's really about its actors' faces and their pauses and their eyes. And you can see it in the way that the directors are sort of, I don't want to say taught to shoot each scene, but rather than multiple camera angles for a scene, you really have two and sometimes just one close-up of somebody going through what's happening in that scene. And it's just beautifully rendered. It's the only thing, like I said, that feels to me close to a great movie and by an auteur filmmaker. So congratulations on being able to...
I'm so lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, being able to keep this show alive somehow. It's a miracle to me.
When we did the pilot, I said to Tim Hutton, I was like, well, this is an amazing experience and it'll never go, so lovely working with you. And then after the first, season, I said the same thing. I was like, God, this was one of my favorite things I've ever done. Lovely to see you, never see you. And it just, every year I keep going, wow, it's amazing. And it's kudos to ABC for, I think, changing the face of network TV, certainly, and having, an 8-hour, beautiful, independent movie that now millions of people can see.
What is it for you that is your, makes it your favorite project, one of your favorite projects that you've ever done? Is it the outcome afterwards when you see how beautifully rendered it is and how it handles the topics? Or is it a sort of vibe on set and the characters that they give you to play with?
It's a great question. I do love the vibe on set. John Ridley creates a great esprit de corps, and so everyone from the actors to props to wardrobe to everyone brings 150%. So I love being on that kind of set. It's very quiet. Everyone's very focused. Everyone does their work really well, comes very prepared. And then when I actually end up seeing it, because a lot of his scripts are redacted, I don't get to read them all. Nobody does. That when
you don't get Regina scenes or anything like that?
Well, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But when I see the whole piece, it's shocking and different than I imagined, and that is a gift in and of itself. So I think both things are wonderful.
I'll say one more thing about how much I love it, but it's the only show for me that if I put on an episode, I'm going to binge it, and I enjoy binging it. I don't feel like I'm mainlining junk food for my eyes, I feel like I'm actually reading a great book, sort of the way that I felt when The Wire first came out, I'm actually being enveloped in a world that is trying to say something and mean something greater, both socially and aesthetically. It's incredible. Again, ABC, continue doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, ABC. And what I do love about John's point of view and Michael McDonald's point of view is that they're not teaching you. You're not there to get a lesson. You're not there to feel bad about what you're doing. You're just there to be told a story, and it's about observing what is.
Well, let's talk about this season's story and your character. As I said to you backstage, again, I feel like you finished last season with being like, okay, I played a cold-hearted person. I want to play a woman with the biggest heart possible. Talk about your character.
I don't think last season I was cold-hearted. She had a point of
Calculating.
view, and she was driven. Let's see. I think that was all John Ridley, actually. And I thank him and Michael McDonald because I would not be cast in that full-hearted, big-hearted, soft person with not very much agency or traction in the world. You know, that's not usually what I'm cast as. And to be able
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. I've never done it on film or television. I've done it on plays. I don't know. It must be how I present. I mean, I'm sure it's how I present. I don't present particularly soft or lost or anything like that. Although inside I totally am. I'm soft and lost. So I'm really grateful to them for giving me this part. And in a way, Barb Hanlon the first year was very, very difficult. But this part was difficult because she's very foreign to me. You know, there's a certain Southern woman that is not in my lexicon. I didn't grow up with any of them. I don't know them personally. So it was uncharted territory for me that way.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in upstate New York and then Colorado.
Wow. So you grew up mainly around Northeasterners and then sort of bi-coastal for the most part?
Yeah, I went to NYU. I lived in New York for 14 or 15 years, and then I went out there. Now, I married a Southerner. Bill Macy is from the South and used to have an accent, and his mother was very Southern, but it was one of those things of going, who are you? What is this?
But then he studied with Mamet for a long time, and I feel like that beat the Southern out of him a little bit.
Yes. And then, you know, we shot in Austin, which I know true Southerners go. Texas isn't quite the South, but now I love and appreciate them. It's just it wasn't something I was familiar with.
This season takes place in North Carolina. Did you shoot this season in Austin as well? Austin sort of second for North Carolina?
No, we shot in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Which was lovely for me because I got to be home with my kids.
So talk about your character. Did you do some research with Southern women? Did you go to farms? A lot of this is about sort of labor on our agricultural labor and how that is endemic of a lot of problems in our society right now, forced labor. So what kind of research did you do going into it?
Well, you know, my character, Jeanette Hesby, marries into a farming family. They're a well-to-do farming family. They have 5 farms, and I think she probably got married pretty close out of high school. She's a girl from the wrong side of the tracks, and she made a good choice and got a good catch, and her whole raison d'etre has been to make sure her husband's life is nice. So she comes into this journey of undocumented workers and illegal immigration and crimes that are committed new, and her eyes are open. So I didn't want to come in with a whole lot of knowledge about it. I wanted to be as ignorant as she was, and indeed I was. And in terms of other research, I have family in North Carolina. One of my sisters now lives in North Carolina. I have a good friend, Stephen Hawley, who's from North Carolina, and so I made Stephen Hawley record all of his relatives and their friends, and I could listen to them. And he sent me all these pictures so I could see, what the look was. And I studied with a vocal coach to figure out, because it's Alamance County, North Carolina. So I really wanted to get it right.
Were all of the recordings that he got just sort of Southern women going, "Hi, Felicity"? Did they know? Did they know that they were being recorded for you?
No, he was very clever. He got them all on his voicemail, and then he'd shoot them to me, and it was really wonderful. I learned a lot.
How do John and Michael pitch the show to you at the beginning of each season? How do they pitch the story? Is it just kind of like a pitch of who your character is, or do they pitch the broad idea of what they're trying to explore?
Well, it's happened for the last couple years. Is John invites me out to lunch, and we go to Al's Diner, and then he sits down and he goes, "This is the area that we're covering this year. This is the character that I would like you to play." And I say, "This is my yes." I just go, "Yes."
Because it's so great. I can't imagine that there's any no that you would even, or any note that you would even throw them. It's all incredible material.
It is. And when you have someone like John Ridley who's brilliant and knowledgeable and really has his finger on the pulse of what's going on in America, and unfortunately right now I think it's going around the globe, you know, I'm not going to go and go, wait, I have an idea. You know, I'm smart enough to keep my mouth shut.
Wait, I was reading the Times this morning,
Yeah,
and
hang
maybe
on.
it would be different here.
Yeah.
So you get on set, and you know, how do you work with all these people? How does everybody else talk about the content while they're shooting it? Because it's all so great. Is everybody sort of floored by it when they're getting the chance to make it?
Yeah, I think that's why, as the years have gone on, we've just gotten the most wonderful actors to be a part of it, because, you know, you look at the pilot, or you look at season 1, and you see the kind of work that John Ridley and Michael McDonald are doing, and great actors go, I want to be a part of that. I mean, this last year I got to work with Cherry Jones, Dallas Roberts, who's fantastic, Tim DeKay, and all these people just raise the level of your game. So it's really wonderful.
I was talking to you in the green room. I had recently seen Magnolia, which I hate to say, I had forgotten that you were in, because I saw it, I think,
Well,
when I
I
was
think I was in
15.
it for like 5 seconds.
But at the same time, you are a part of a shot in the film that is incredibly long.
That long, yeah.
Through the
that was
whole studio. And I did this to your husband when he was here. I made him talk me through the shot in Boogie Nights, where he goes through the house, back to the car, and then shoots himself in the face. What was it like? What's it like doing a shot like that? That requires an incredible amount of choreography. Do you remember how many times you did it, and what it was like sort of staging that?
I do. I don't remember how many times we did it, but I do remember staging it because they followed us up and along. It's where Jay Leno used to shoot. And then the camera gets in the elevator with you. So I remember it was a really long shot. And basically, as an actor, all you're doing is going, I have to remember that it's 10 steps from there to there. Otherwise, the timing into the elevator doesn't work. So it's technical.
So it's 10 steps while remembering your lines, getting in, and then that's unbelievable. I mean, that sounds incredibly hard, to be honest with you.
I think it's you practice. It's just a muscle.
As an actor, is that one of the things where you're like, okay, this is going to be kind of difficult, but at the end of the day, this director is going to have an incredible shot, an incredible scene that they're coming out with?
I have to tell you, I am so not camera savvy, and I so don't sort of look out and go, oh yeah, this is going to be a cool shot. I very much just keep my eyes on the prize right in front of me.
With American Crime, I have to ask, you sort of made vague mention to what's going on in the world right now. Mm-hmm. What has it been like to shoot this show, have talked about the issues that you talked about in previous seasons, and now you're talking about the issues in this season, while this is happening right now in the country, which, to be perfectly blunt, it feels like we have an administration who does not care about these things that we've been talking about for the last 4 years, and the progress that I think American Crime is trying to illuminate that we should make and that we could make.
Well, again, I don't think American Crime is making a statement or teaching a lesson or taking a position. I think American Crime is just reflecting what's going on and the people involved in it. And I think it's one of the reasons why there's no good guys or bad guys in American Crime. Even though you thought I was mean last year.
Not mean. I got your character, and I liked your character last year a lot. But there is a very clear difference between last year's character and this year's character.
Yes, which is lovely. So what it's like, I feel like John has his finger on the pulse of what's going on socially. I think he just does, and I think he reads a lot. And so every year has been both, it's been sort of prescient about what's going on. But whenever we shot it, it was before things were happening. So there's that, but I also think these problems of immigration, forced labor, sex trafficking, racism, drugs, they're systemic in our system, and so they're cyclical. So you and I could shoot something right now, and it would be acute probably in 6 months, because this stuff keeps coming along, because it's chronic. And what it's like shooting it, again, as an actor, you're not looking at the big picture. You're looking at the scene, or I'm looking at the scene. I'm shooting that today. So I don't think of it on a political level. I think of it what's the job I have to do today.
And you're getting redacted scripts as well, so you might not even really get a sense of what the sort of broader picture is for that.
Yes, there have been times where I've gone on set going, what's going on? What happened that he's alluding to that I don't know? And Michael McDonald's has had to come on a couple sets and go, okay, here's what happened that you don't know. So
why do you think they redact the pieces of the script? Is it to keep things secret, or is it because they want you to essentially sort of focus on your character and what's happening with you, and maybe not get too caught up in sort of everybody else's story?
I don't think it's the latter. I think it's the former. I think it's to keep it secret.
Do you feel like they should trust you more with stuff?
No, I think they. No, I'm completely untrustworthy. No, it's not just me. It's everybody gets a redacted script. Right. Don't tell Felicity. No, I think however they run the show is how they run the show, and I like you, even if I wasn't in it, I'm in awe of this show, and I am in awe of ABC for having the balls to do it, but I'm going to say for having the ovaries to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
We had your husband here not that long ago. He was promoting Shameless at the time. He is the best. And you...
The best.
And you are the best, though. I mean, it's one of those things where the both of you come in, it's like, oh, great, two people who are very good at their jobs and are smart and funny at the same time.
Can I take you home? Is he this nice to everybody? You know what? Don't answer that. I don't care. As long as he's that nice to me.
I'll tell you, you've got 4 minutes and 30 seconds up there. That's when I become an asshole. I just drop it.
Okay, good. Go.
Well, I'm curious how the two of you have sort of maintained a sort of sense of groundedness in this industry, which can be difficult when you're the lead of a show, and you've been the lead of other shows before. He's the lead of a show. He directs movies. It's an incredible amount of work. When he was here, he was like, I just got out of a plane. I'm directing 2 movies, and I got to get back on the show. I'm directing an episode. And I was like, oh, but you're still a cool guy. You're not being a jerk right now. You're like super stressed, but you're also just still being very nice. Has it been difficult to sort of maintain a kind of groundedness while in this industry?
No. I mean, I think everybody works really hard. I'm sure you could apply that question to many people, not just with how busy we all are, but how tough relationships are, and how do you stop from being an asshole?
Well, I've got 3 minutes and 30 seconds
Okay,
now.
all right. Chapter 2. I think it helps with success coming somewhat late, that you've had years of, not making any money, $12,000, years of no one wants to hire you, people telling you exactly what's wrong with you and why you'll never make it, and also growing up in the theater, which is people really appreciate the craft and not just the art, because, art, in my opinion, comes from God and craft comes from us. And if we're lucky enough to be struck, then you go fantastic, but you just keep doing your work.
Wait, expand upon that. What do you like everything? Well, I think it's fascinating, because I think what you're talking about in some ways when it applies to movies is sort of what they refer to as the movie gods, because every movie, for the most part, every show, for the most part, has craft going on in it, because everybody's working. But sometimes the gods don't please them with being, a critic bestowing them with the word art on top of it.
Yes, well, all I can say is...
That's what you meant.
That is what I meant. When I do plays, before I go on stage, I don't really do it in TV so much, I think, because it's so damn fast. But there's this moment where you're behind the curtain and you're just about to go out. And it's right at that point where you're going, this is an enormous mistake, and I shouldn't go out, and I can't do it. I was talking to a friend of mine, Chris Bauer, who's in a play right now, The Penitent, down at Atlantic, and he's got 3 steps to walk up before he goes out on stage. And he said they are like Mount Everest, because you just go, I'm throwing myself off the cliff. Anyway, so to get back to what you said, there's a moment when I'm backstage where I just sort of pray, and I go, I hope the muse descends, and I'm ready for whatever comes, and I hope I've done my work enough so that when the wave comes, I can surf it. And if the wave doesn't come, I've done my work well enough, so at least I think I can tell the story. But whether it's art or not, I think is out of our hands.
What's been the most difficult role you've played? Theater, television, film, whatever, where every time you were about to start, that feeling that you just said you had, like, just totally overwhelmed you and it was almost impossible to get over?
I did a Mamet play called The Anarchist. That was really difficult. And then I think the next one was first season of American Crime.
Is The Anarchist, it's a two-hander, right? And it's a therapist and an arson?
Yeah, it's a woman
and an
who's been in prison for 30 or 40 years.
I just saw that last year.
Oh.
It was wonderful.
With me?
I don't think it wasn't you.
Was I good?
You. It was terrible. I kept going, "Where's Felicity?" I was screaming it in the theater. But that and the first season of American Crime?
And the first season of American Crime.
Why is that with American Crime?
You know, that character, interestingly enough, I'd just done a couple scenes in a play that Bill directed with an actor named Billy Crudup. Do you guys know this guy? Yeah.
Who dat? Sorry.
Who dat? And he was so good that when I was acting with him, I went, oh, this is what it means to act well. So I was determined on my next job to hone it that close to the truth, to be that simple and that full. So that's what I went into American Crime with, and that character was so internally parched and so driven that the combination of being so poor of spirit and so rich of objective, I found really difficult to do.
And do you think the sort of new take or the new idea that you had about acting in that moment kind of got conflicted with what that character needed for you to do?
No, not at all. It was just I gave myself a smaller aperture through which to push the character. It had to be that clean to get through what I wanted to do. So no, it gave me a target.
Wow. Let's get some questions from right here. You, sir.
Thank you so much for coming. Great to see you again. The
Nice
show
to see
is
you.
fantastic. Sort of going on to what you were talking about with the first two roles you played in the first two seasons and now being a little more open-hearted, it looks like, in the third. Do you have, as an actor, do you have to find things to like about Barb and Leslie in order to portray it as not such a one-dimensional dark character?
I think absolutely. I think all of us have to figure out a way to endorse our work. And if you don't endorse your work, you're miserable. So whether you're playing open-hearted Jeanette Hesby or Barb Hanlon or Leslie Graham or Hitler, for that matter, not that any of those characters are like Hitler, but you've got to find a way to go, yes, you know what this person is doing? This person is trying to save the world, even though what comes out is could be misguided.
Right there? Or someone who has a microphone? Sorry.
Hey.
You're after that.
Hey, Felicity, I was wondering what your kids think about having like two well-established actors as parents, and would you want them to pursue the same career?
What a great question. I've often asked myself that question because I grew up with normal parents. I don't know, did everybody here grow up with normal parents? And you go, what do you do when you grow up with not normal parents? Like me and Bill. When they were little, they thought I went to work to put on makeup, and I didn't disabuse them of that. You know, they were like, how is makeup today? And I went, it was good. And I don't know, you know, what I've tried to do, because I was confused about it for a long time, is to say, because they were little when Desperate Housewives was around, and that was, you know, that phenom sort of thing. And so I kept trying to say, you know, it's my job. The reason these people are paying attention to me or wanting my autograph is because of my job, not for me. And when this job ends, this will go away. And indeed it did. So to try and separate, because, you know, you get yourself, you start feeling like, hey, it's because of me, and it's not. And I do, I have one, our oldest girl, I think, wants to be an actress, at least at this point. So we'll see. I mean, what is it, 5% of our union makes a living wage? A living wage. I haven't told her that yet.
Do you feel like it's your responsibility when she told you that she wanted to be an actress or started going that way to like really try to hammer the idea of the craft and the job itself and not, you know, because she probably got to go to some premieres with you growing up or got to see, no? Yo, it's great. You were kind of like, you're not seeing this side of this.
Well, you know, Bill became famous long before I was in the public eye, and I found it warping. I was a grown-up, and I found it really warping. So I can only imagine as a kid, so I try and keep them away from it as long as possible. Did I let her know about no. You know, I try and just wait and see if she asks. I think it's very it's like a circus family, and your kid's going into the circus. So you sort of want to give them a lot of room to figure out what the circus is for them.
Hopefully you don't want to be the lion tamer and you want to be the clown over here. We'll see where it goes.
That's exactly right.
And I think we have one more question right here.
Hi. Thank you so much. And I was already a big fan, but hearing you speak about the craft and your humility makes me like you even more, honestly. Oh. And as an actor, what would you say, I'm also an actor, and about, you said you got your success later on in life, getting through those voices and, you know, all those people telling you, you're not like this, you're not like this, you never fit like this. What would you say to that?
It's a great question, because the number of times where I would drive home and just put my head on the steering wheel and cry. And, you know, I remember once I finally was like, okay, I know I went to college for this. I majored in theater and I minored in philosophy. Yeah, good game plan. And I said, it's time to change, and yet I have no marketable skills. So I literally went to Marinello School of Beauty and picked up an application, because I was like, I should be able to do something with my life. I know your question is, how do you keep going? Well, I do have two things to say to you. If you can get out, do. And if you can't get out, don't. So you just have to persevere, and you have to be and the other thing is, you know, I've been fired a bunch of times too, and
Really?
yeah, and you have to ask yourself, am I working hard enough? And as actors, that's hard, because you're sort of like, I'm going to do a scene to my icebox? What? But you do have to ask yourself that.
Can I ask what, like, not the project or who it was or anything like that when you were fired, but like it's a rare that someone talks about that as an actor. They say, oh, I worry about getting fired, but no one ever talks about how it actually happens.
Maybe they weren't fired.
So can I ask, you know, what happened one of those instances?
Sure. I've been fired off a television show, and I was fired off a Broadway play. What happened?
Early in your career or
good.
after?
Yeah, earlier in my career. Yeah, I think I wasn't good. I don't know how else to say it. I got fired because I wasn't good.
Well, you're amazing in American Crime. Really, I really didn't want to end it there.
I think it's a fine place to end it.
Well, American Crime, guys, premieres this Sunday at 10 o'clock. It's the best show on television. Felicity, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys.